Hello there. Welcome to this conversation, the series of videos focusing on ICF team coaching competencies. In this video, we look forward to addressing establishing and maintaining the team coaching agreement, a very important competency. I believe you are following the series of videos. You may have noticed, rather than discussing the team coaching competency word by word, we focus on the practicality. Because at the end of the day, we as professionals, what is most important is to apply these team coaching beautifully articulated words into reality, into practicality. I am Fernando Hetiadra, founder of Ignite Global, and also the creator of Professional Coaching Advanced Mastery Certification for Coaching Groups and Teams, among many ICF accredited programs, Level 1, Level 2, Level 3, and many specialization programs that we deliver at Ignite Global. I'm an ICF designated Master Certified Coach and an eclectic psychotherapist. So, for us to address this team coaching competency number 3, today I have one of my esteemed colleagues, one of the faculty members from this program, the team group and team coaching program, Kimunya Mugo. And I would like to invite him to introduce himself. Kimunya, over to you.
Great. It's an honor and a privilege always to have these conversations with Fernando. My name is Kimunya, and I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya, part of the Ignite faculty, and just also bring in the global aspect of Ignite Global. Yeah, so very, very happy to be with you here. Yeah, I'm an alumni of the team and group coaching program, and this is a program that has actually been very transformational in the way I deliver coaching, but also in the way I connect and engage with teams. And beyond that, the impact that the competencies and the skilling has brought to me, it is very clear out in the marketplace. So really privileged to be here with you today.
Thank you, Kimunya. I would like to share with you, those who are watching us online, that Kimunya has a beautiful way of storytelling. So perhaps as much as you are excited to learn the practicalities of team coaching, I am very excited to hear the stories Kimunya has got to say. So Kimunya, let's get started with your experience. One of the first responsibilities of a team coach is helping everyone understand what team coaching is and what is not. In this equation, we need to explain the distinctions between team coaching, other team development approaches such as facilitation, training, consulting, or mentoring. Now, why this question is very relevant to Kimunya is because you are also an organizational development specialist, not just a professional coach or a team coach. So we would like to understand, Kimunya, how do you explain the distinction between these different practices?
Yeah, and I think it's very, very, very important that you bring in the whole aspect about organizational development, because when you're thinking about organizational development, it's it's a whole. You're looking at how does a whole move forward with a lot of synchronicity, with a lot of cohesion, with a lot of oneness, and not as the parts. One part is moving faster than the other. So when it comes to team coaching, the way I say it is, how do you help the team? And the team here is a group, a collective of individuals who have come in together for the sole purpose of pursuing a single agenda to the end. So they might be different. They might be coming from different professions. However, the reason they're coming around the table is to look at, for example, look at the organization as an organism. If this organization is going to thrive, what must happen? What must we do collectively as one to ensure that we have a healthy, thriving, living organization, as opposed to other developmental approaches, which are more directive, which are more solutions oriented. The expertise lies outside the organization also. Like, for example, facilitation or training. it's more about scaling the gaps. However, team coaching is also looking at, as a collective, what are some of the things that we might not be seeing, and helping that team to dig deeper, broaden their scope, their mindset in terms of where they need to go. So it's not just about the solutions. Team coaching is going a little deeper. And because of that, there are modalities that need to be put in place, like the contracting, the scoping, the understanding as a coach, understanding where the team is. Therefore, there's much more work in team coaching than it is in other developmental modalities. Because again, it is not just where we're going, it's also a mindset issue. Yeah. So that is where the distinction really lies. In team coaching, the expert is within the team. In other modalities, the expert is actually external to the organization. I think that brings a bit of clarity in terms of the differences. Yeah. And actually that has gotten me into a, if you notice that pause there, it just gotten me into a space of just thinking, then how do we as coaches ensure that we have all the stakeholders and their needs are actually looked into, and therefore then how do you then partner with the team leader, the team members, the sponsors, and other stakeholders also, to establish what they need to do to have that clarity in the shared coaching agreement? How do you go about this, Fernando?
Thank you, Kunya. I think it's directly built upon the insight that you were sharing about the distinctions. So when it comes to the distinctions that you talk about, for an example, where do we place the insight come from? Whether it's the team itself, whether it is the external service provider. So that tells us something. That tells us how we would create different agreements need to be different as well. Therefore, this is really a broader topic. So if I address this in simple terms, our focus is how do we create agreements with different multiple partners who will be joining coaching. So as you mentioned, many different partners. Now, if you come to think of it, if you are working with a one-on-one client, or an individual coaching client, the agreement usually tend to be either three-way or two-way. Three-way would be the sponsor, the coach, and the coachee or the client. If the sponsor and the client are the same, then it's a two-way direct agreement. And it's very simple. But when it comes to working with organizations in team coaching context, it becomes absolutely very complex. In simple terms, now in this discussion, you're starting to recognize that there's a co-coach, another coach who will be mirroring you, who will be providing a mini supervision aspect to the coaching, who would be engaging with the team that you're working with. So you will start to notice that even before you sign a contract with the organization, perhaps with the sponsor, you need to have a contract between you and your co-coach. That's one of the simplest agreements. And then, as Kimunya was discussing, bringing in different modalities, that means you're going to have many stakeholders who are going to be working together with you within the organization. So there are many aspects of confidentiality, financial aspects, and when there's a conflict, how to deal with it. Various aspects that need to be agreed upon between the service provider, the key service provider, perhaps, which is you, and then with all these other partners who you will be bringing into this consultancy that you are providing, because there are many of them who would need to have a very clear agreement between you, your co-coach, as well as with the organization. So you notice the moment there's a bunch of other service providers, including the co-coach, perhaps some mentors, perhaps some specialists in assessments, training delivery providers, psychotherapists. Depending on all your ecosystem, you need a complex agreement there. And then, if you just bring your attention to the organization, there's a sponsor, and perhaps very often, learning and development team is involved. There's human resource team involved. There's procurement team involved, and many other teams that would involve, even before you consider the team that you would be working with. So you need to manage all of those relationships. Where does the information go? Who report to who? If we have a problem, who do we reach out to? How do we manage confidentiality? So you are starting to recognize that even within the organization and you, even since we haven't considered the actual team yet, you notice even within the organization, including the sponsor and other applicable stakeholders, the agreement become complex. And then if we bring our attention to the team itself, how do we create agreements within the team? Especially if certain teams may have some visible or invisible hierarchy. For an example, most teams, if not every team, has a team leader. How do you agree certain aspects with the team leader? And then how would this specific agreement between you and the team leader will reflect on the team members? And if the team has other hierarchical levels, you start to recognize that it becomes even more complicated. So how do we communicate? How do we agree? How do we create agreements within the team itself? And then you notice that we also need to have one contract that is encompassing all different agreements that we create. So you are starting to recognize that because there are multiple stakeholders within team coaching organizational context, the agreement becomes very complex. And it is something that you need to do with greater clarity, legal consult, and also full integrity with ICF ethical guidelines, and also your organization, the organizations you're working with, and all the other stakeholders that you work with. Thank you, Kimunya, for the question. So I think we can elevate this, what we just explored now, as we are creating those agreements. And when we look at the implementation of coaching, now, what conversations are essential at the beginning of a team coaching engagement to create clarity around the coaching process, goals, expectations, success measures, specifically also bringing in the team leader into the picture?
Yeah, I think that's a very pertinent question because, again, in as much as you're coaching a team, you're not necessarily engaging with them at all times because, of course, there's a vision holder or the vision bearer who is most often than not the team leader. And therefore, the first conversation will be around answering a question with the team leader. Why is this important to you as a team leader? Yeah, why is it important? Because then that provides clarity in terms of even looking at the end game. So how does the end game look like because of why it is important right now? And the other conversations would be mostly around some key questions that I always look at. And these are 5 critical questions. So the why is it important is more at the initial stage with the team leader, but it also comes back, it circles back when the team now starts their actual engagement. Why is it important for you as a team? But the other conversations are around these 5 questions. The first one is, what is at hand? Yeah, what is really driving the need for us to have this coaching engagement? What is at hand? What is at stake? If we are not able to resolve this as a team, then what does that mean for the team going forward or for the organization? So what is at stake? The third question I will explore is around, what don't you know? And sometimes there's some pushback around that question because they're like, hey, hold on, we are professionals. We've been running this department or this organization for a while, so we know. But it helps them to take a step back and now have that conversation around, what are the gaps? What are the real gaps? If we have to be authentic with ourselves, what is it that is actually holding us back? So what don't we know? Uh, the fifth question is around what help must we get? So yes, of course, we're having this coaching and engagement, but from the coaching journey, are there any other maybe team developmental modalities that might be beneficial for them so that it keeps the whole engagement objective? And then the critical one is also what is the desired outcome? After we have gone through all this journey as a team, what is the desired outcome? What is our future dream? What is our future aspiration? And what that then helps to do is helps bring clarity around the process. So how do we get there? The goals, what must we achieve? The expectations, when you're talking about what don't we know, it's also giving each team member an opportunity to also bring in their own expectations, their own mirror into the game. And then, of course, when you're looking at the success measures for the whole team, is geared back towards the expected outcomes, but why it is important for them. So the conversation are mostly now expanding those questions with the team leader, and then after, of course, after the team leader, now expanding them with the whole team. And with that, then also comes a very interesting aspect, which I would like you to explore a bit, Fernando. And this is around the ownership of the coaching process. How is this shared between the coach, the team leader, and the team, the whole ecosystem? Yeah. How do you determine who owns what throughout the whole engagement?
Thank you, Kumran. I think this is a very important question we address. Once again, it can become complex. It would become complex because if I primarily address this question from a surface level, you would notice that this requires two things. One is intuitively managing the ownership, and secondly, structurally managing the ownership. And this becomes complex because, as you said, there's coach. The coach represents both the team coach as well as the co-coach, your colleague. And then the team, the lead of the team. So if we look at this primarily, we understand the ownership is always, most of the time, is held by the team. Ownership is most of the time needs to be with the team within this cohesive unit, one unit, this living system. But at the same time, because team coaching uses a directive approach time to time, and also the coaching process needs to be implemented as the discussions, the coaching conversations happen, the ownership also needs to shift as well. So when we look at it primarily, we notice that one of the key functions of the team coach is to really disappear into the background and enable the team to own the dialogue, own the team coaching process. And in fact, especially when we come from a one-on-one coaching background to individual coaching background to team coaching space, very often we find this very challenging because in individual coaching, the client speak, the coach speak. Client speak, then the coach speaks. But in team coaching, we do kind of the opposite. We step out of the conversation, the team coaching process, and we allow our client to engage with each other. So that's where we really enable the ownership within the team. But this happens primarily and momentarily. There are also times where the team lead might be taking the ownership, the coach taking the ownership, if not the leadership, and also co-coach coming and taking the ownership. So that's where I mentioned that we need to have both the structure. We need to prepare in advance. We need to assign the roles. We perhaps even need to assign the timing. We need to have the right cues. We need to be respectful about these agreements that we make. A more structured approach. More than in the coaching environment, this happens outside. So a lot of preparation, coordination, collaboration need to happen. And then there's also part that is intuitive. where perhaps we go beyond the structures. And that's what true coaching is about. Coaching is not about limiting ourselves to a structure. It's all about being in the moment, spontaneously recognize what is most valuable for the client, in this case, the entire team, the team lead, the co-coach. Therefore, you as the center in enabling the team coaching, it's required for you to take this intuitive lead in a way, creating this collaborative approach, shifting the ownership between the stakeholders within a team coaching environment. So that's another interesting complexity which requires maturity as a professional coach to balance, creating a balance between structure and coaching intuitively. And as we discussed many aspects of agreements, setting agreements in team coaching environments, I would like to invite Kimunya, your experience. When you look back at your own experience, what advice would you offer to coaches who are learning to establish strong and effective team coaching agreements?
Yeah, I think the one area that if I was to start over again, I would do a bit differently. It's around budgeting the time and the effort required before the engagement starts. And that's what you are calling the scoping. And I think that's one of the things that I really picked out from the team and group coaching program as we're going through it. It's a scoping. There's much more required in the scoping. It's not just a meeting with the team leader. There's also the need to also budget in the time to also actually do a stakeholder engagement who are going to be involved in this process, understand where they are, appreciate maybe that their conceptions or misconceptions of the whole process. Also looking at like other team development modalities that you might need to incorporate and have this agreed on early enough. And the reason for this is because if there's a shift with during the coaching engagement, where you need to bring in a new team engagement modality, then you might get pushback from the client because it might involve a budgetary item, which maybe they've not budgeted for. So it's very, very important for you to be very clear about all this at the very, very, very beginning, so that once the coaching process starts, then you do not have any you're not blindsided. Yeah. And that requires a lot more intentionality in how you engage with the team leader, and then also how you engage with the teams, but even more so with the sponsor, because the team leader might also be maybe it's CFO, the chief financial officer. However, the real sponsor sits on the board, sponsor of the coaching process. So then how aligned is also the board member, so that they're able to make the right approvals and decisions to ensure that the coaching process happens. So you need to be very clear about all these steps. And that is why it is important for you to actually come in and skill yourself. And that's why we would love to really want to welcome you to come and join up with us at Ignite in this team and group coaching journey. Because then what it does is that it gives you an in-depth appreciation of all the steps, of all the dependencies, of all the nuances that you need for you to be able to establish very strong team coaching agreements. And beyond that, beyond just getting your certification as a team and group coach, there's a nice spoiler alert here. You actually live out with you becoming a certified organizational development specialist through coaching. So how beautiful is it that, for you to get something like a little extra? And then beyond that, there's also the PCC bundle, where if you actually take the PCC journey bundle, then you will be able to actually elevate your current qualification, your current certification. If you have like a level 1 certification, the beauty about this program is that it's accredited at the level 2, and therefore you'll be able to bring in your level 1 certification together with the team and group coaching certification, and with the PCC bundle, then you'll be able to pursue the PCC accreditation. And beyond that, the program is also accredited to deliver the ACTC accreditation. So there are a lot more goodies than just the going through the training. You'll get to skill yourself. You'll be able to be ready for the market. And we welcome you to join us in this journey. And the details will be provided at the bottom of this email, or somewhere around this email. So please feel free to engage with Fernando, with myself, with the Ignite team, and we can't wait for you to join us in this beautiful, awesome journey. So looking forward to seeing you on the other side of the coin. See you for now.
Thank you. Thank you, Camilla.